All right, so we have a Magic banning, we have Supreme drafts, and a Zendikar Rising teaser. That means it's time for another edition of Mega Magic News. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. 2 Mega News videos 2 days in a row, and that's because there's a lot going on in the world of Magic the Gathering. Now, I am before you, the Magic hair historian. I got look at this hair. It's gotten so long that it's starting to like curve out at the bottom. I'm getting a little Becky from the block going on down here. If all the editing has gone properly, I am just a floating head and arms, which makes this a little bit more fun. So we've got multiple news items to cover today. We're going to start out with the banning. So this banning is specifically for Historic. Yesterday, I touched on the fact that a banning was going to be occurring. I said that my candidate of choice for the banning was Field of the Dead, and I asked for people to fill in the comments their ideas of what should get banned and why, and I actually got some pretty compelling cases made for other cards, which made me think there might be more than one card banned in the scenario. But that is not the case. It turns out I was correct. Field of the Dead was the major candidate. It did get the ban hammer dropped upon it today, so it is no longer legal in the Historic format, and that takes effect today. If you haven't already logged into Arena, then you'll find out the next time you log in. I've already logged in today and saw that that has indeed gone into effect. So the official announcement says this: Field of the Dead has been a powerful force in Historic for much of the format's life. While its overall win rate is rarely at the top, its matchups are extremely polarized. In particular, its high win rate against slower decks has made the format as a whole lean towards aggressive strategies. This effect scales with the ubiquity of Field of the Dead decks, and recent sets have given the deck several powerful additions, including Cultivate, Explore, and most recently, Hour of Promise. And Hour of Promise was just added in when Amonkhet Remastered dropped, which was roughly about a week ago, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, that whole dental situation I had going on made me kind of lose track of time to a degree, but I do feel like that was about a week ago. So it's just compounding the problem. Now it says, as a result of this, we've seen both the popularity and win rate of Fields of the Dead decks steadily climb, and it is currently one of the most played best of 1 decks, and by far the most popular best of 3 deck. So the deck obviously has staying power when you're playing with the ability to sideboard and over the course of possibly up to 3 games. But it's interesting. Sometimes you'll have a big differential between what's being played in best of 1 and best of 3. But in this case, it looks like it's dominating both. So it says, having watched the progress of this deck closely, we feel this trend is unlikely to change. We also feel that Field of the Dead is unlikely to be a healthy part of the format anytime soon, so suspension is the wrong approach. In order to bring greater diversity to the Historic meta, Field of the Dead is banned. This ban makes perfect sense. I mean, Field of the Dead was an innocuous little card that people didn't notice right away. When it first came out, it kind of got ignored and thrown by the wayside. But then it steadily cranked up in power. And this was like pre-Oko days. So honestly, Fields of the Dead kind of ended up in the rear view mirror. Like Fields of the Dead was becoming a massive problem. But then Oko came along and was such a bigger problem that you didn't even really, like, Field of the Dead just kind of, oh yeah, I vaguely remember there being a problem with some card like that. But I mean, Field of the Dead has no cost, right? It's fairly restrictive in the number of answers that it has, and getting rid of the Field of the Dead has to happen before it goes off. It's not like the zombies that are created by it are tied to the land itself. So it's a relatively hard to answer sort of card, right? Even when you extend out into Historic, there's not a lot of easily accessible land destruction for every color. You do have Field of Ruin, obviously, but overall, the answers are fairly minimal. And yeah, I mean, Field of the Dead, it is unsurprising to me to see that it gets nailed in Historic, right? So moving on to the next item we have on our list, that is Supreme Drafts. Now, Supreme Drafts are something designed specifically originally for MTGO. However, it is something you can easily play in paper Magic as well. So for me, this counts as digital and paper news, and I feel like there are some people who do variations of Supreme Drafts. So the origin behind, all right, whatever that was, the origin behind Supreme Drafts was essentially when they were coding in the necessary changes to drafting for Double Masters. And if you don't know what I mean because you haven't done Double Masters drafts, Double Masters drafts had a special provision because of the nature of the packs. The booster packs come with 2 rares in each pack. So when doing the Double Master draft, they figured to avoid feels bad scenarios, they would allow you to take 2 cards as your initial pick in the draft, right? And this is to circumvent the kind of problems you have with these big expensive sets. If you're not somebody who plays in drafts or somebody who's involved with like running a shop, you may not be familiar with the problem, but essentially when you do drafts with bigger value products, the chances of there being multiple high value cards in a pack increases, right? And so you have the scenario where somebody can open a booster pack where they absolutely do not want to hand over. Like they don't want to just pick the best card out of the pack and hand over the rest because there's another extremely valuable card in the pack. Now, it can get to the point where people will literally just concede out of an entire event to keep their cards. They'll be like, nope, I'm putting the draft, I'm keeping this stuff, it's mine, and not hand off the packs, right? And it's not like entering a draft is a legal contract or anything. So there's not like the other players can be like, no, you have to draft. You have a legal obligation to pass that stuff over to me. So as a result, you have a scenario where in some situations, people would literally just drop out of an event. So different stores handled it in different ways. The store I went to handled it in a way where if you opened a pack and the stuff in it was too valuable and you weren't comfortable handing the pack off or using it for the draft, you could set that pack aside and buy another pack. Now, yes, on the surface of it, you could go, well, couldn't you just theoretically like keep getting packs until you get something you really want or give yourself an advantage? It's like, you can, but I mean, this is like a local, like 8-man messing around draft. This isn't some high level, high price event where you're like, oh my God, the prizes are so massive that people are going to game the system. Also, I mean, there's the outlay of buying each additional pack, but it's a less than perfect situation, right? So Wizards decided for Double Masters, you get to do 2 picks. So the people behind MTGO said, well, if we're doing this double pick mechanism, can we just extend this into like a new concept where you pick 2 cards from a pack and then just get rid of the pack? So basically, like a normal draft is open a pack, right? Pick the card you want, hand the rest of the 14 cards off to the person beside you, and those cards will circulate going around and around the table until they've all been picked by people. Well, with the Supreme Draft, that's not how it works at all. How it works is you open a booster pack, you pick 2 cards, and the rest of the pack just gets put to the side. It is not used as part of this setup at all. Then you open another booster pack and pick 2 cards. And so you keep opening new booster packs and picking 2 cards from each of these booster packs successively. And you open a total of 18 booster packs. So you're going to get a total of 36 cards to build your deck with. Now, a couple of things to note. First of all, when you're doing this in paper, it's going to be expensive. You're going to need 18 booster packs, right? That's 6 times the normal amount of booster packs, which makes this obviously more of a rich man's style of format, right? It's going to be a decadent, luxurious experience. Regardless, totally doable, right? I mean, you can grab up a booster box, and a booster box is enough for 2 people to do this kind of a like draft deck. And the upside is you don't need 8 people, right? This is doable with any amount of people. You can do this 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. All you need is 18 packs per person, preferably of the same sets. But if you want to get really wild, you can do chaos drafts, right? But just, you know, if you want to have each of you having the same experience, you might want to pick the same, like 18 different boosters from 18 different sets, but you each have the same 18. There's a lot of possibilities for this, but obviously it's expensive as well. So you pick 2 cards from each pack. And interestingly enough, from the information that was posted, there is an argument to be made that always taking the rares might not be in your best interest. You know what I mean? Like, rare drafting to get bombs and stuff like that makes perfect sense, but just rare drafting out of every pack may not be in your best interest. And considering the rest of the cards are just set aside and you're keeping them yourself, you have more of an incentive to just pick like whatever is going to be best for your deck. So I think that it's a cool concept from that perspective. Now, the way they're going to do it on MTGO, for anybody who's interested, is they're going to mash all the Ravnica sets together. So all the different Ravnica blocks are going to be crammed together into this Ravnica experience that you can play from. But what you have to bear in mind, one thing, is that on MTGO, it's a phantom event. And what that means is you won't get to keep the cards after the event. Now, there's an upside and a downside to this. Obviously, the downside is you don't get to keep the cards. And that, to me, is a pretty big letdown. I don't like phantom experiences. I like building my collection. But if a phantom experience is enjoyable enough, then my opinion changes. Where it's like, okay, you know what? Depending on the variables that go into it, if it's enjoyable enough, then get in on it. And you can have the experience at the fraction of the cost, essentially, when it's done phantom style. Because if they're going to do it non-phantom style, where you keep all the cards, then you have to pay the full price for all the booster packs, because Wizards isn't going to leave money on the table, right? So you don't have that opportunity. Phantom Draft greatly reduces the cost for you to have that experience, but if you're somebody who wants the cards, you don't get to have the cards. So overall, it's an interesting concept. I am actually genuinely considering firing up my MTGO account, because I do have one, but I tend not to use it because I find that MTGO's interface is far more clunky than Arena. Arena obviously has its own technical glitches, but MTGO admittedly has way more variety in terms of giving you access to all the cards that exist in the game, way more formats to play. It's a superior program for Magic the Gathering to play, but when it comes to the actual like interaction of it, it's just not as sleek and easy to work with as Arena. So I just end up using Arena. You know what I mean? That's how it goes. But I might actually hop on MTGO to check this out because it seems really cool. Now, the third item on the list is the teaser for Zendikar Rising. And I mean that Wizards of the Coast put out a YouTube video that is less than a minute long. It's a teaser for what's coming in Zendikar Rising. And in all honesty, it's got me very curious and it's got me hyped. In contrast to like some of the recent ones, for example, the Ikoria one where you had Vivian running around to the Bad Reputation tune, that didn't really gel for me properly. The whole trailer and everything felt, I felt like I didn't like the vibe of it. It did not land for me. Other people dug it. Honestly, the Japanese trailer was way crazier with like the crazy warehouse where they have like fires and trash cans and they look almost like an army of crazy homeless people, and they're just fighting like magic battles down in this warehouse basement or something. It was just so different, right? And like I remember the guy had this dope leather pouch to keep his magic deck in that I wanted as well. But either way, the Ikoria trailers were like a mixed bag. This trailer for Zendikar Rising has me genuinely interested. I actually am strongly contemplating making a video breaking down every aspect of it for all the different flavor that we can pull from it, because it could be Nahiri or Nissa that is speaking in this, or I guess maybe it's possibly her thoughts. Either way, it's super interesting, right? Because first of all, there's a couple different variations of Nissa, and like I feel like, you know what, honestly, I'll just end up going on and on about it here when I probably should give it its own separate video. Regardless to say, it is a very interesting teaser from my perspective. You should totally check it out, if only to understand when I go on about it, what's going on in it. But it's just enough to make you go, okay, I want more. And there's literally nothing about the trailer that I don't like. It got me right away, and I watched it multiple times. I am hyped. So if you do check out the trailer, pop by on the comment that I left and say hello. All right, so that's all I have to say. Let me know if you're interested in me doing a breakdown of Nahiri versus Nissa for the trailer and which one it's likely referencing, because that would probably be a cool like flavor video. And if you guys are interested in it, then I'll put one together, because I'm going to end up thinking about this and looking this stuff up either way. So I'm going to be prepared either way. Let me know in the comments if you like what I'm doing here. Like, comment, subscribe. It's all great for the channel. And also if you're subscribed, then you get to see more of these videos. What a treat. All right, so I have a lore channel, Fantasy Geographic, just released a brand new lore video over there yesterday in the Karn series. People are loving it, so come on by and check it out. Thanks for being here, my friends. I'm having a great time with what I'm doing, and I will see all of you probably later today with a flavor video talking about the Zendikar teaser. Goodbye for now, and stay strong!